Recently I learned that leadership is legacy. But not in a boastful way. It's about leaving something behind that's going to impact the future. And that is what my grandfather left me. As I grew up, I remember hearing stories about my grandfather who moved back to Canada at the age of 16. And in the next 25 years, he would do things that his peers could not, despite 1960s Canada, which was not very multicultural at the time. He sponsored the senior baseball team. He owned the local junior hockey team, and he met celebrities from around the world. But that's not what makes me proud of my grandfather. What makes me proud of him are stories of when I was a little boy and we would go to breakfast together, Chinese dim sum. And every single time we would go to breakfast, I remember inevitably someone would come up to shake his hand and say, "Thank you, Mr. Ma. Thank you for hiring me. Thank you for being a good boss. Thank you for helping bring my family to Canada." And as a young boy, this didn't really make much sense to me until I started to work at the restaurant. And I remember this one time a non-Chinese person came up to me and asked, "Are you Vic Ma's grandson?" And I said, "Yes." And then he told me, "This is my first time coming to your restaurant, and I just want to shake your hand. Your grandfather was a good man." And that's when I realized my grandfather's impact wasn't just on the Chinese community, it was on the entire city. And that's the type of impact that I want to have in the future. It's funny though, you can't get there without starting at the bottom. And so when I started to work alongside my father and grandfather at the Blue Willow restaurant, I was a busboy, and albeit a busboy with many opinions. And I remember my father coming up to me and saying, "Patrick, put your money where your mouth is. Increase sales and reduce costs." So I did. I worked all the different jobs, from busboy, host, server, cook, delivery driver, as well as introducing new products, wines and desserts, and introducing new promotions, as well as new initiatives like our food concession trailer. Essentially, I became Mr. Blue Willow. And I remember taking this food concession trailer to all of our summer festivals and meeting a variety of interesting people. And I was the one who got to control the message and serve food to people and say, "Hey, did you like what you have? No? Okay, let me change it up, try this, come back to a restaurant, I want to say hi to you." So at the end of the day, did all of this work? Yes. You know, sales did increase. It increased by 15%. And our costs were reduced by over 30%. And when I saw this, I knew that I had the confidence to take an idea to fruition. But sometimes leadership, you don't always have the idea. In fact, sometimes you need to piece it together. And that's what happened to me during my internship during the summer of 2013 when Bayer Consumer Care hired me to work in their office in Shanghai. I was their digital media strategy intern. My boss was the director of marketing. And she sat me down and she said, "Patrick, if you want to be a success here, you need to learn 3 things. First, you need to know consumers. Second, brands. And third, you need to know digital media in China. And where all of these 3 circles intersect, that's your internship. You need to understand that." So I had to go out and learn consumers and brands. I went to talk to the brand managers and marketing managers. Then if I wanted to learn digital media space, I went up and talked to all of the partner agencies, JWT, Mindshare, Millward Brown. And at the end of the day, with all of this, I ended up with 2 things. One was a framework, how to invest in digital media strategy in China. And 2, a workshop. And this workshop is where I presented my strategy to the entire marketing team. 30 people, brand managers, marketing managers, the director, as well as the country manager. And at the end of the entire thing, the country manager stood up and said, "I think there was a lot of good information presented here." And he told the entire team, if we want to be successful in the digital media space in China, we need to act first and ask for forgiveness later. And that's when I knew that success can happen. I can leave a new way of thinking, and I did so being on a team of one. But that doesn't always happen. Leading change can also happen on a team. And in February 2014, I was chosen to be on a team of 6 to go into the country of Myanmar, also known as Burma. And I was on a student-led consulting team. We were hired by a multinational billion-dollar company from the US to look for outsourcing opportunities in this country. We were there for 1 month. And in that month, we learned that in Myanmar there are many challenges. First, there are infrastructure challenges, lack of roads, too much congestion, pollution, as well as communication challenges. There in Myanmar, everybody there communicates in a high context environment. And yet, on this team of 6, we were 6 individuals from 5 different countries that communicated both in direct and in indirect communication. So how did we bridge all of these gaps? Well, we had to leverage the strengths of everybody on the team. The direct communicators had to leverage their knowledge of consulting as well as manufacturing. And the high context communicators were the ones who reached out to all of the local people. And at the end of all of this, I was the one who had to bridge all of this together. And we took all of this information back to the US to present to headquarters. And after our presentation to the leadership team, they came up to us and said, "Great job. We're going to Myanmar in a month." And after that, I realized that the success and the strength of the team is more than the sum of the parts. So, after all these stories, what can I tell you? Legacy is all about what happens in the beginning that impacts today. The image of my grandfather still drives me to learn from the bottom, as well as to piece things together and to have the confidence to know that if I don't know the answer, somebody on my team will. So my grandfather was right. Leadership is about legacy and leaving something behind that is going to impact the future communities of tomorrow. Thank you.